What's up, everybody? This is the Net Talk Podcast. I am Matt Parker, your host, and I'm going to do a quick recap of our season. It's July 21st, and I got off the boat a couple days ago. I'm at the house for another 3 or 4 days doing some mending and some gear work, and we're going to get into it. I'm going to give you the ups and the downs, mostly downs if any of you know what was going on this season. It's a pretty tough one for everybody. First things first, I want to address this podcast and where the name of it came from. The name of it, Net Talk, originated right here in this gear locker, probably in 2016. Yeah, it was 2016 or 2019, one of the two. We spend a lot of time here, hanging gear, mending gear, fishing stuff. So we have hours and hours that we're just talking about anything and everything. And eventually we come to the conclusion that, man, we should start kind of recording this or doing something like that, telling stories, fishing stories, funny stuff that happened, scary stuff that's happened. And finally, I'm doing the damn thing and making a podcast. I have done a little bit with Dominic Papetti, and I have a couple others lined up, hopefully to get done before I leave Bristol Bay. And I'm really hoping that I get some good content out of it. I'm not going to be able to get everybody that I want on the podcast within the next week, but there should be a lot of content coming out via my webcam stuff. I'm going to do as much in person as I possibly can while I'm here, and get some cool stories out of some people. It may not have been a productive year for us, but I tell you what, there was some scary stuff, some pretty sobering things. So 2 things were pretty unexpected this year, one of which was a pretty strong bit of news that came out before we even got here, and that was that Silver Bay came out with a base price. 80 cents base plus whatever their RSW and bleeding bonus prices are. It works out to about $1.10 a pound, which is still terrible. It's horrible prices, but fishermen are still hamstrung, and I don't know what to do about it. Nobody really knows what to do about it, but I'm hoping that something turns around. I'm hoping that I might be able to do something, maybe pass on a little bit more information to people, hopefully get this out to people, hopefully people enjoy it, and get interested in Alaskan salmon and start buying it up. There are independent fishermen who process their own fish or have it processed for them and do sell it. One of those people that I know for sure, I know there's a few of them, but the one that I know is called Small Scale Seafoods. You can find them at smallscaleseafoods.com. And they're usually sold out for pre-orders before the season even starts. I think for the fishermen of Bristol Bay, that is a fantastic way of making a living. I think you can do that. In this day and age, I've been told that you have to take the bad years with the good, sock away the money on the good years, and prepare for the bad years. I don't think that's right. I really don't. These fishermen work hard. They stay up long hours. It's not the hardest work in the world, but that's coming from somebody who spent their entire life fishing, picking fish. Every single summer I've been picking fish. We had a youngster on the boat this year, about 15, Declan. He asked me when I started fishing. I said, I don't know. I was 2 or 3 when I was on the beach site, and I was in, they got me the tiny set of bibs and some dishwashing gloves, and I was out there grabbing a fish at a time and throwing it in the tote. Then he asked, "How old are you?" I'm like, "Well, I'll turn 33 this year." And this little turd, he's like, "Oh, so you've been doing this for about 30 years now?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. God, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's pretty wild to think about. I went through I wouldn't call it a dry spell, but just an emotional roller coaster this year. We didn't have that much fish on board. Still, we're unsure of the price, and I was just frustrated. Like, am I not going to come away with a good check this year again? And then in my head, I'm like, God, do I even want to come back? I don't know if I want to come back. I don't know if I want my kids to come up here. This shit's stupid. Like, I'm not making any money. Just going down a bad rabbit hole of just negativity. I'm out of that now, I hope. In talking to Dominic Papetti, who's our next door neighbor here in Garlic Gulch, it's really cool just to hear some of the stories from him of the old times and cool stuff that's happened to him and whatnot. Pretty incredible. Thinking about the people that I've been able to interact with and the stories and the lessons learned from all those guys. So that's what I want to bring to the table with this podcast. I'm rambling a little bit, but let me just get to the nitty gritty of it. So this season, I heard a couple things. One rumor was that the highliner for a cannery, a buyer, had 150,000 pounds. That's not good. That is not good for the bay. That's not good. That's a pretty average. That's a mediocre fisherman on a good year, and for a highliner to have 150,000 pounds is pretty bad. I also heard that this was a few days ago. I heard that the average poundage per boat in Bristol Bay was 47,000 pounds. That is, again, not good. I don't know what happened. It was supposed to be a average run, roughly 30 million fish. The thing that really stood out to me was the amount of 3-year-old fish that were supposed to come back. I think it's like 40% of the run was 1-2 fish. So the way they age these fish, I don't know how they do it. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on how they even figure out what's going to come back. But the 1-2 represents the amount of years that they spent in river or the lake, and the amount of time they spent in the ocean. So a 1-2 would be 1 year in the lake as a young buck, young salmon, and then 2 years out in the ocean. Just before we left the noosh, we were talking to a tender, and he said the average weight of these fish was like 3.8 pounds. Tiny fish. So that's a couple things. One, you'll pick what seems to be 10,000 pounds of fish, and you only have 7,000 or 6,000 pounds. It's so much more work for less fish. When you've got these 6-7 pound hogs coming over the reel, it makes life easy. The poundage just adds up quicker. With these smaller fish, it was a slow death. The noosh especially, because we went to the noosh early, and they were opening us. They were giving us 2 periods a day, but they were giving us funky tides. It was like the last half of the flood and part of the ebb, which was okay, but they didn't even give us a full tide to really work. The noosh was a slow death. Like we're still scratching. There wasn't any sort of a body of fish. We never had any big days over there. Ended up transferring to Naknek early July. Had a decent first day. They opened up the west side, the Queejack side, and we had a good first day. And we're like, okay, cool. The run's coming. There's going to be a body of fish behind it, and then it just dropped off. From July 6th, there was really no big push of fish. Usually it'll be scratching a little bit, and then you'll get hammered with fish, and you'll be loading the boat. People will be deck loading, and there just wasn't any big push of fish whatsoever. Another odd thing was that these fish, you would get them on the flood, and then on the ebb, usually you go to the beach, you go to shallow water to scoop these fish up that are pushing hard on the ebb. And we just never got any fish on the ebb whatsoever. So that was really strange. It was a really, really odd year. What else happened? Let's see. We lost a guy this year. Young man, 21 years old. From the little bit that I read, it looked like he was a lifelong fisherman, or had fished. Right, he had experience. And I guess they had dropped one end of the net, went to the other side, and as they were picking the net back up, he got tangled in the tow line or something like that, and got pulled over. I imagine that when he got pulled over, he probably hit his head on something, because one of the crewmates dove in after him in his rain gear. And he's lucky that he got out alive, because when you jump in with your rain gear like that, it's not very favorable swimming conditions in your rain gear. Apparently, the young man had him, but the young man who fell over first was probably unconscious, and he couldn't keep both of their heads above water. It was pulling him down. So the young man who jumped in had to get back to the boat. They eventually did get the guy who fell over, and he did pass away. So that was a very sobering thing to hear about. You never want to hear about anything like that. This is a dangerous job, but everything, and I mean everything, like that can be prevented. It's dumb mistakes that happen when you don't have your head on a swivel, and it can be prevented. Complacency is a killer of all. That's thought I heard something. It's the witching hour. It's probably 11 o'clock right now, and I'm looking out of the Connex, and I'm just waiting for a brown bear to poke his head in and make an appearance.
I swear to God. Holy shit. He's right here. Fuck, he's coming right at us. Ooh, holy shit. Ooh, ooh, get inside. Watch it popcorn.
So, for those in the industry, please, guys, keep your wits about you. Don't get complacent with this crap. It will take your life, given a chance. And just look out for your brothers out there. It's not a good thing. What else happened? The troopers were out in full force this year. They were handing out tickets left and right. Almost every time on the line, especially early and mid-season, troopers were loud and proud on the line. They had skiffs patrolling the line and choppers patrolling the line. For those of you who are not familiar, the line is a geographical boundary that your gear cannot cross. So when you're flooding, the tide is bringing you into the district. So no big deal, right? Well, fishermen are greedy, and when they lay out their nets, usually you're not laying out on the line. You're laying out over the line so that you get a decent set in. Because if you were to lay out on the line, you're going to get corked. But if you lay out over the line, it's a matter of a minute, sometimes sooner, that the tide will then bring you back into the district. So troopers are patrolling that, making sure the fishermen are staying honest, and it's a mosh pit of boats. I've seen some really, really cool maneuvering of vessels in those situations, and it's pretty neat to watch. You can sometimes you can pass a beer back and forth to other guys on the decks of other boats. It's a fun time. So after the flood, you have what's called slack tide. Once the tide stops flooding, there's a magic period where the fish will push really hard when it's slacked up. That's when you're going to get a lot of fish. So they'll push. You can catch a lot of fish on that, but once that tide starts ebbing and pushing you out of the district, you better have a good crew that's good at picking, or you better have a crew that can round haul that net and just bring that net into the back of the boat, right? So we're laid out, and it was a decent flood. There were some fish there, but that particular slack tide, we had ran the net a couple times, and for those of you who have been in the bay and seen this, when you run the net, you're anywhere from a couple of yards away from the net running it to 5-10 yards out. The boat running through the water will scare fish into that net, and sometimes when there's 20, 30, 40, 50 fish hitting that net at once, those fish literally pick that net and the corks swimming, picking it up out of the water. It is something to behold. It is really, really neat to watch. So this particular slack tide, we had that, and we had a good set. And we are probably a few hundred feet away from the line. And I poked my head in the door. I'm like, "Hey, Vince, how close are we?" He's like, "Close. We got to stern haul this thing." I'm like, "Okay, right on. This is going to suck because there's a lot of fish." We stern haul this net, and choppers are flying. A plane was flying that day, flying the line, and trooper boat was going back and forth on the line. We finally get that net in, and Vince stops the boat. He opens the door to the back deck, and he says, 75 feet. We were 75 feet away from drifting out of the district. And, I mean, as we're pulling the net into the boat, looking up, and there's a plane right above us. Just narrowly escaped. I don't know if they would have pegged us for being out of the district. It'd be pretty tough with a plane. But if a skiff were to have been on our ass right there, it would have been close. It would have been really close. One more thing. This morning, I send the boys off to the boat. We have a mooring in the river here. We got a skiff on a little clothesline deal in the river. We all pile into the skiff. I take the boys to the boat. We're on the boat, and we look over to the shore, and we're like, "Oh, okay, there's brown bear on the beach. Cool. I gotta go, boys. I need to get the skiff in, get back to the truck before that brown bear makes it to Munson Park." So I'm like, cool. Get in the skiff, zip on over to the line. I see the bear. I'm like, all right, I probably got time. Clip the boat off, pull it out into the water just a little bit, start walking back at a pretty brisk pace. And I see a mom and her kid, a human, not bear, picking their subsistence net. So I'm like, oh shit. So I walk a little bit faster, get closer, and I'm like, hey, have you guys seen Yogi right down the beach there? And she's like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, hey, there's a brown bear walking this way. And at this point, while I'm talking to them, I have lost sight of this bear. The beach where I'm at is kind of like this, and then over here was where I saw the bear, right? And there's a creek that comes in here, and I have lost sight of this bear because he's made his way down the beach. So I'm like, hey, we need to get up to this house and just get by this building here. Like, I don't know where this bear's at. At that point, I see Vince and them peel off from the mooring and scoot straight to the beach. And I mean, Vince is kind of hauling ass to the beach. I'm like, oh God, like that bear's getting closer to us, and they're going to try to scare it. Vinny's up on the bow of the boat with an air horn. Air horn has a half a second worth of a good blast to it, and then the air horn dies. I'm like, oh God, great, fantastic. Air horn works perfectly. That's good. So I'm like, yeah, no, listen, we got to go now. There's a set of stairs leading up to this house that a gentleman owns. I don't know if he was asleep or what. It was pretty early in the morning. I wasn't going to go knocking on doors. I was going to go in the door if need be. I think he would understand. So I'm like, hey, buddy, we got to go. You know, the kid's probably 5 years old. And the beach is pretty rocky, bigger bowling ball-sized rocks. And he's just not getting the picture. He's not moving. So I all but grabbed this child that I just met 4 seconds ago. And I'm like, we got to go. And I'm like carrying him to the stairs. Mom's in front of me. She starts walking up the stairs. I'm trying to help him, carry him up the stairs. And we finally get up to the house. And we just sit tight for a little while and watch Vince and Vinny and Gervain on the boat. And they yell back to us like, hey, he went up into the woods. I'm like, okay, we'll just hang out here for a few seconds and let everything kind of calm down. Eventually go and poke my head up above the bank, and nothing. The bear's gone. So I stayed down there for a little while at the truck while Mom picked her net. And yeah, that was hair raising. That was not fun. I'm bringing my pistol next time I come up. Like this, I thought about it this year, but I had too much luggage. It was going to be a pain in the ass to check the pistol. Like, nope, that is the second time I've encountered bears on that beach. So I'm like, I'm bringing the pistol next time. Like, this is stupid. There's no reason not to have one with me in a situation like this. The first time was a few years ago, and me and Vinny had just got done working on the boat, and it was about this time, it was witching hour, about 11:30 at night. And in Alaska, 11:30 is still relatively light out. We're on the boat, we're done working. I throw my binoculars up, give a quick scan of the beach. I'm like, cool, no bears, let's go. Get the skiff to the beach, nose her in. We both get out, and we both turn to face the river. There's a bluff right up behind us. Vinny's lighting a cigarette, playing around on my phone, and I hear this rock like roll down the bluff. I'm like, what the hell is that? I look over my shoulder, and there's this brown blob trying to claw its way back up the bluff. Best thing I could surmise of it was a young brown bear had misstepped on the side of the bluff and had started to fall down the bluff and was sliding down the bluff trying to climb back up it. Well, he hits the ground about 10, 15 yards away from us, and you just kind of sits on his haunches like this. And I'm like, oh God. And say, hey, Vinny. Yeah, we got to go. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm like, turn around. He turns around, and like he saw a ghost, just boom, starting to like, okay, both of us kick it into gear. We start pushing the boat, and that bear's just sitting on his butt, like none the wiser. Does not care about us whatsoever. But we were pretty shook up, pretty scared. Finally, fumbling around like a bunch of idiots, and bear could care less about us. Those things are so well fed, but still a pretty scary situation to be that close to an animal like that. And totally unprotected, no pistol. We might have had a knife on us, but good luck with a knife and a brown bear. Young brown bear, smaller feller, skinny, but I think those things are, still pretty well fed. They really don't mess with people, I don't think, around here. but the catch just wasn't there. What's the deal with that?
Well, what happened, again, we were just a nursery. Bristol Bay was a nursery for the Japanese and Taiwanese. Now they were 12 miles out. And they were intercepting our fish. We would go out and get an opener, and you ever see when you catch a fish that went through one net and it was kind of scarred and the scales were gone?
Sure, yeah.
Well, these guys they had like 12 miles out there. I mean, they had 12 miles a net, 12 miles out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all these big catcher process, they had 11, 12 miles a net. And whenever, we got through their net, we're heading back to the Bristol Bay. You catch it, you get the Clejack and the Delta usually get, right? So, it's just, we were just a nursery for these guys until Senator Magnuson back in the early 80s, I believe. Just sent them out 200 miles, and then we started to build up our runs again. And we always got our returns. We always got our escapements, but they kept us in because they needed the escapement.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then when they got the escapement, other countries, Japan mostly, and Taiwan, were getting them before they came back in here. So we were fishing just to get our escapement, and then that was it.
So I guess I should look at the actual harvest for this year. But,
yeah. What's really stunning is we've had 6 really bumper years in a row. You guys, I think, been here for 6 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
killer.
2 years ago, we had 73 million?
Yeah. It's insane.
My first year was 1965, and I think there was like 53 million in 1965 was one of the biggest seasons here.
Whoa.
Right? That's a long time ago. This is my 49th year. But let's get to the new era. When you got a whole cycle going through and starting your cycle, how do you, with getting escapement and good runs, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened to this one?
Yeah.
This was part of that cycle. What happened to this one? I mean, I haven't had a season like that. I can't remember how long it's been. But officially, Mary said 51 years since the NACNIC has been like this.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. They actually gave us an opener. Well, you guys, maybe you're here, maybe you aren't. Maybe you're new. But they gave us an opener and they rescinded it.
Really?
They took it away from us, and we were closed for 2.5 days. I think you guys did transfer, got caught up in that. And yeah. But you go figure.
Huh.
Yeah.
What do you make of when they had the forecast? It was something like 40% of the run was supposed to be 3-year-old fish, the 1-2s.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? Is that...
I'm not a biologist, but I tell you, they were small.
Small.
My buddy put a subnet in, got 130 fish in the subnet. Way too much for a salt pack. He brought them here. And when the kids brought them here, because we want to get a salt pack going, 80% of them were 4.5 pounds. 80% of them. When Doug Adams and his brother Kevin brought them here, they had way too many. Okay, I'll take them. You go to my smoker, I mean, you got a couple of 6-pounders in there hanging, right?
Yeah.
Well, not 6 now because you stripped them. And the rest are all, 4.5 pounds in the round.
Trout.
Yeah, they're trout. And I was at Amanda's yesterday. Because she will bring home, Amanda, she's got a little processing plant down here. It's called Nat Keene Packing or Nat Keene Fisheries or something. And they're filleting. They're this thick.
Yeah.
And they're that long after the fillets. I mean, what are you doing?
And
So that was another reason. And I went to go pick up Gizzy and the guys, when they came in. And I was in the, what used to be our Western Airlines. Before Alaska came in, it was Western Airlines. And the information center in King Salmon, there were no other buildings beyond that. That's where we flew out. We went right to there and we flew out, right? Western Airlines. And then Mark Garrett came in. And then Wayne came in, and vice versa, either or. And then Alaska came in a lot of years later, right? So I was in there waiting for Patty and Gizzy, because when you go in there, it's part of the Parks Department. And when you go back to the right over there, they got a little room. and they got these videos going of sailboat days and all that kind of stuff. Really, really interesting.
Still there?
Oh yeah. And so I asked the girl, "Did you go up to Brooks?" She said, "Sure." So she showed me.
Is this all the wine we have? That box? Can I have the box open?
Well, go get your box so I don't have to open my other box. Right? When you get your... Well, let's see. Okay.
Okay, not back.
Yeah. Let's still open up another box if we got, already one open, okay? So,
right.
What were we talking about?
The film.
Oh, yeah. She goes, "Oh, yeah, I went up to saw the bears," and she showed me, and they're all jumping like that. And I go, "Oh, my God." I mean, all these little fish up there jumping. I mean, that's not knackneck fish. Knackneck fish are 6 pounds plus. Yeah. I mean, so, yeah. Were they in the lake 1 year, 2 years before they went out? Two twos means 2 in the lake and 2 out in the ocean. 1 3s, 1 4s, 1 in the ocean. 3 out in the 1 in the lake and 3 out in the ocean. I don't know the biology of all of it, but wouldn't you think common sense would tell you if you got your statement every year, you would think that you would be consistent, right? Yeah. Now let's go back like 25 years or so. The Queejack goes after like 90 years worth of records and stuff, right? The University of Washington works with the state of Alaska. I mean, they've been that long for a lot of years, right? Oh, we want the Queejack produce 15 million fish instead of 9 million fish or something. So let's just let's send up 9 and 10 million to escape and see what kind of return that does, right? Well, what it did, they put 17 million up one year. They went up there and they blew up all the fish in the river because because it's too much. It sours the lake. Yeah. There's not enough oxygen for all those fish. Food. Because when the fish go up and spawn and they die, they eat all the nutrients. It's just they pump so much it destroyed the Queejack system to the point we were in the river for about 4 or 5 years in a row because they needed to rebuild that. These biologists thinking that maybe they've always put 4 or 5 million in there and they've always had 10 and 12 return. Well, let's just put more up there and see if we could, and they screwed up the whole ecosystem. And that system was screwed for a long, long time, and we were in the river for 4 or 5 years. Never even fished that west side. Never even fished the east side. They shut everything down in the Queejack, and we were in the river for 4 or 5 years.
When was this?
2018 we were in the river. I got my tide books for 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. And now this is 24. So we can go back all those years. When I look back at 18, we were in the river. So we were in the river 18, 17, 16, 15, and probably 14 to maybe even 13. We were in the river. Now that sounds like it's really bad, right? But it wasn't. I mean, we smacked the shit up on the river too. Yeah. No fuel cost. Yeah. I mean, guys were still getting 18, 20,000 pounds of tide in the river, right? Yeah. God. The difference is guys like Vince and myself, we stayed the whole tide. Guys that work for the cannery, as soon as the tide went down, they wanted to get to the dock so they can go eat, which was the best part of the tide. Yeah. Not from high tide to medium. The best part came from medium down to low. Yeah. I mean, that water table drops, these fish are still pushing for the river. You talk about taking candy from a baby, but a lot of these guys, they went right to the cannery, they tied it to the dock. Weird. Yeah.
It's one thing that I noticed we didn't see at all this year was any sort of a push on the ebb. Like nothing. It's really strange.
Okay, Mike, can I give you a task?
Yes.
Okay, you take care of the potatoes. I made enough, but look at here, we still have potatoes from 2 nights ago. Okay?
Those.
After you mash those, then you throw those in there and mash them.
Is that ready for me to start mashing?
No, go ahead and get the fork and check it out, okay? I'm going to light up the barbecue, get it good and hot because we got flank steak right here, okay? All right, so we have the corn's already heated. Mushrooms and onions are already done. You do mashed potatoes, I'll do that, and have your grandson, same thing. Paper plates, napkins, forks, etc. Okay.
All right. Don't fuck those steaks up, please.
That's why I want to go out there. I'm not gonna fuck the steak up. I mean, medium rare. These flank steaks after soaking them in yoshidas. I mean, that is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I love flank steak.
Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Yep.
I'm gonna. No, that's right. I'm gonna take that off. When those are mashed,
I'll throw that
put those in there and let the heat. You know, and we can move this from here to here and just right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not trying to tell you. I'm 53 years old. I know how to cook. I'm Italian.
Come on, I know you want to cook. I just want to make sure.
But I'm respectful, so I sit there and I, not.
Mike, this is perfect.
Is it?
Perfect. Absolutely
I'm not
perfect.
gonna lie. My wife called me and she says, "Oh, our kids want to." My wife's gonna be 60 next year. Our kids want to throw me a party. I told them I want nothing big.
Matthew, do you mind to close that window just a little bit?
And she wants to have a party at my house.
Nicholas, go text everybody, call everybody,
They're
whatever
right
you do.
here.
What now?
Victor's right here.
Where's Victor? Yeah, tell him,
I got distracted from a phone call with my wife.
everything's ready to
I
eat,
screwed it up.
okay? And it got to the point where, see, those guys on the Nussigak side would be against us on this side. Well, anyway, Harvey Samuelson came over here, and we've been friends with the Samuelsons for a long, long time. And all of a sudden, they took down Harvey, And my squash and my dad, my Uncle Joe, Uncle Phil, my Uncle Dominic, they told Brindle, if you don't buy Harvey's fish, we're not selling our fish. Now, Harvey was from a different negotiating group over on that side there, and they ran him out. He came here, and he was throwing his fish over. My uncle goes, Harvey, why are you throwing your fish overboard? He said, I don't have a market. Bullshit, we'll get you a market. He told Brindle, if you don't buy Harvey's fish, you're not getting our fish.
Jeez.
Yeah, absolutely. And Harvey today, his son, his son is my age. He'll tell you the same thing. He tells me that story all the time. Robin Samuelson. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Everyone, grab some meat and Victor, you met Matthew. Karen. The Gina Karen was owned by Louis Romani, Vito Romani, and Louis fished up here for years. 61 Bryant fished AJ for years. He was a Bristol Bay guy. And when a tender came in from Kodiak or something, and all of a sudden cash buyer, 25, 30 cents a pound more than the canneries, blew the doors off. Some guys delivered to him. What's a tender hole? I mean, it was a scow. It wasn't a crab boat. Crab boats were built then. It was a scow, a power scow, like the Dagny, the Muskrat, the Northern Pride. For red salmon, it was the the Melina and the power scows, right? Power scows were built during the war to bring goods up here and good food. Yeah, they were built for the war because when the war was against Japan, they thought they were going to hit the Aleutian Islands, and so they were bringing supplies and stuff through these scows, right? And then after the war was done, then all of a sudden, they used them for tenders for fish. And we were always a red salmon guy. We were always a CWF guy, And so anyway, there was a change. Somebody finally came up there and said, we want to pay more for your fish. So the Gina Karen came up here, and I'll pull that picture up. It's a 1,200-ton tuna boat that came from San Diego. And they got together with a friend of ours down in Bellingham, and they came here to buy fish. Well, all of a sudden, all the canneries said, you better not sell your fish to that guy because we're going to blackball you. We're not going to buy your fish. Everybody got scared. A lot of us didn't get scared, but that really blew the doors down. That was 1976 when the Gina Karen came here. All of a sudden, not just a power scow, but this big 1,200-ton tuna boat. Again, I'll pull a picture up where all the boats were tied alongside of them. Well, when it was all said and done, he was going to bring that fish right down to Bellingham cold storage. So me and my Uncle Joe decided that year, before the salmon season, we went up to Nat Keene. We went to Peterson Point, which owns Nat Keene, and Oliver Mackey flew us. We flew, my Uncle Joe Papetti, myself, and Oliver Mackey. We flew over to Nat Keene, which is the upper river at Telephone Point, the line. Telephone Point's on that side, Graveyard's on this side. Just up from Telephone Point is Nat Keene. We went looking for a couple boats, and my uncle says, you know, make sure you got a knife because you want to check the garber planks, right? Well, anyway, we bought 2 boats. The next year, Squash took that one there. Actually, it was that year. He took it for herring. And then my boat, I leased it to Andy Webster, and he fished for the Gina Karen. And so anyway, Louis was going to take the boat after the sockeye season here to Ecock, Clark's Point, the Nushagak district, and was going to, because Louis was going to buy, with the Gina Karen, was going to buy silvers. When he got there, he got talked into going to Togiak to buy silvers rather than the Nushagak, because there are a lot of silvers in Togiak. So now, because he told me if the boat fishes for him, I fish for him, and my other boat fish for him, he says, I'll take it back to Bellingham for you. So I went to Ecock there, got a ride over to Clark's Point. You've been there.
Yeah.
Ecock is right there, Clark's Point is right there. One's CWF and one's Alaska Packers, right? Then you got Queen's School above it. So Joe Clark says, Dom, don't worry about it. I've been watching the boat for you. It only floats in high water. The small flood it doesn't float. So I go over there, and now Louis' brother-in-law, Sam Liberati, owned that house right there, you know, and John Baldetta, we're all heading over to fish silvers, and after sockeye now, going to go fish silvers, and Louis happens to change his mind. He's not going to buy in the Nushagak anymore. He's going to go to Togiak. So they all turn back. Well, now I gotta, you know, fly over to Ecock, Clark's Point, and I got to get my boat, because now he promised he's going to take the boat home. So now I got to go to Togiak. I got to bring my boat to Togiak, right? And so I brought my boat all the way to Togiak. I was supposed to be the best man at my buddy's wedding, and I only had a couple days to get home. Well, by the time I got there, and there's really only one tide in Togiak, you know, there's not 2 floods and 2 ebbs. Yeah. So I had to wait. So he had a sat phone. I says, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the wedding. I'm stuck in Togiak, right? So anyway, I get to Togiak. One of the skiffs takes me in the next morning, and Jack Most, Togiak Fisheries, calls an airplane over from Dillingham, Armstrong Air. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. I mean, you know, from Dillingham to Togiak, as the crow flies, not that far. I'm waiting 3 hours, 4 hours, Jesus. So I call our guys here, Tippets, right? I said, come and get me in Togiak. Jack Most didn't know that, and I'm just waiting. I want to be able to get out of here as fast as I can, because maybe, hopefully, I can make the wedding. I already told him I don't think I'm going to make it because I'm stuck up here. So anyway, here comes Tippets, and you know, he lands, picks me up, and as I'm getting on the airplane, he goes, what are you doing? I already called for an airplane. And here comes Armstrong. You know, Tippets got here way before Armstrong. I mean, hours before. I said, I got to get going. You know, that was Jack Most, Togiak Fisheries. I never did make the wedding. But he asked me to be best man. We all went to high school together. But that was the strike. The strike here. We went independent. You see this operation right here? Yeah. I mean, during the strike, we'd already had this, because we were selling to cash buyers that wanted to buy our fish, and these guys are negotiating, trying to get a fish price, and we're getting 25, 30 cents a pound more. And why do we want to stay on the beach? We left that bullshit and all that kind of dysfunction. Yeah. And we put up this. We put a lot of money up to put this up. And anyway, I had scab written on my trailer from my own cousin, as it turned out to be, you know. Well, Jesus, you know, we don't want to deal with that. That's why we left. We don't work for the cannery. Yeah. They don't cork our boats. They don't feed us food. We're completely on our own. We left that so we can better ourselves. That was 44 years ago. But my own cousin put scab on my trailer with spray paint, you know. I'm not a scab. I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm tired of that, you know. And so what do we do? Sit on the beach for 3 weeks and they get an extra 5 cents? You already already missed out on like 60,000, 80,000 pounds of fish. I mean, we broke away from that way before the strike to do our own thing, and we negotiated. We got our own cash buyers up here.
Yeah.
We did everything on our own to be able to sell our fish. So why? I'm not speaking for the rest of them, but why should we have been, considered a scab when we negotiated our own? We got our price.
Yeah.
25, 30 cents more than the rest of the guys. So that was during those strike years. Now, before we left the cannery, we were against the strike. Before, the Gina Karen came up. Matter of fact, Nick Scrivage had the Dagny. He wanted to pull up to the dock there at a Bumblebee, which has been vacant for years. And all of us guys made so many waves, right? Everyone, 15, 20, 25, 30 boats back and forth. He couldn't even tie to the dock because the scow was bouncing so much. We would try to do anything to disrupt, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Do you think that that's something that could happen today, like a cash buyer or something similar coming in to kind of disrupt this dysfunction as you put it?
There are no cash buyers. There are no. I mean, we for 25 years or so, we had cash buyers in here, and sooner or later they just kind of faded out. Yeah, I mean, it didn't last 5 or 6 years. It lasted a long, long time. And there are no such thing as. Are we ready? There's no such thing as cash buyers anymore. So.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Well.